Hello, I'm Keely, the Crochet Queen at Hooking Love, and today I wanted to show you how to make a twisted headband. So just very similar to this one. It has a really lovely twist at the front, lots of texture, and is really adaptable. So the one that I am going to show you is one that hopefully will be very quick for you to work up. If you are a maker and you sell your products, if it's quick for you to work up, then the price point should work out really well for you, and allow you to sell your product, make a profit on it, and make your customers really happy. So for this project, what you're going to need is, I'm using a 10mm hook, pair of scissors, needle for sewing in ends, and I'm using Stylecraft Special Aran, and the colourway that I'm using is the purple. I'm using 2 balls, and I'm putting two threads together. Okay, now, as with most projects, you can suit your gauge and your style by changing the hook. So you could go down or up if you wanted it a little bit looser or a little bit tighter. Now, one of the ways to make sure that this really fits you or your client is to measure around the head. So what I've done is I've used a piece of yarn, wrapped it around my head and tied it up. So if you do have a client that doesn't have a tape measure, they can always do this and send it to you, and that will make it really easy for you to be able to make sure it fits. So in the project, you want it to fit around the head. You don't want it to be pull tight. You want it to be sort of just a very comfortable fit, but neither do you want it to be loose, because at the end when you do the tying together, it's going to take a little bit of the length off. Okay, so that's one of the things that I would suggest. Now, I am going to do mine using a half double crochet. So I use American terminology. I'm going to use a half double crochet. You can actually do this in a single crochet or a double crochet. So if you are really new to crochet and you've only learnt 1 stitch, then this is a brilliant project, because you only need to know the 1 stitch and be able to count and be able to just sew the ends in at the end as I show you. So this, for example, is this yarn double stranded with a 10 as a single crochet, so you still get lots of texture, and it would make a fabulous headband. This is the same weight in a double crochet, so, and the same amount of rows as well, so you can see the difference between the two. But again, you've got a good amount of texture, and if those are the only stitches that you know, it still allows you to do a really nice headband. So for this project then, let me just get my strip. So I'm going to make a slip knot, complete a chain to the length of the chain that I've already cut off. So no right idea how many it'll be, but I shall just keep going until I get there. These are really cute on, and really very much on trend, really popular. And of course you can make these then in any size, because the width is down to how many rows you do. The circumference is down to the size of the wearer, so you could make this for babies, you could make this for teenagers, children. Very easy for you to size up, size down. If you want it super thick, then you could make sure that it goes with a smaller hook, and that will thicken it up and make it feel a bit warmer. I'm not even counting these. I normally would count these. So I'm based in the UK, in the northwest, in a place called the Ribble Valley, and at the moment we are in our 3rd lockdown. So if any of you are in lockdown, I'd love to hear from you and find out how it's going for you. I normally look after my grandchildren of a day, and today their mum's not needing to go into work, which has allowed me to have the time to be able to make a video and to do this. It's been something I've planned to do for a little while. It was just getting the time to do it. So all I'm doing is I'm just measuring up against my... Oh, now I've gone too big. That sounds about right, doesn't it? There we go. So I need to go back to that one there. So that's the length that I need then, and I am going to do my half double crochets in the 2nd chain from the hook. And when I do them, I go into the 3rd loop or the back loop. So when you're looking at the chain, you have the front side where you've got the V's, and then at the back you've got a little bump. So by going into the bump to make your stitch, what that allows you to do is it gives you a really clean edge on your starting chain. Now I know I could do a foundation chain, but I actually prefer to do it this way, so this is what I do. I'm just going to half double crochet all the way across, and you can see then at the bottom that what you have is a nice clean finish because it's gone into that back loop. And if it's not something that you've ever done before, you might find that at first it just feels a little bit, not tricky, perhaps tricky is not the word, but just a little bit different to what you're used to doing, because it does slow you up slightly, just making sure you do get it into there rather than just in the place that you would normally do it. But the finish is much nicer, and you get the finish at the starting chain is the same as the last row as well. Now, not sure how many rows I will do. I imagine I'm going to do perhaps about 6 to 8, somewhere around there. But whatever rows you want to do, it's important that the rows are equal. So that is one of the things I would say when you are doing that. The number of rows needs to be equal in order for you to get your twist right. You could do this and decide not to do a twist. You could just wrap some yarn around it and make it almost like a bow front, or indeed make a bow and tie that to it. It doesn't have to be a twisted headband. So what you would do then is just sew the front together and put the yarn around it to make a sort of a bow type effect. I really like the twisted headbands, and I know from my customers they are really very popular. Looks so cute, and if you are, if you're used to making things for younger children, you find that like the Mummy and Me sets are really popular as well. So now, so you can see how, because I'm using 2 strands and a number 10 hook, this is really nice and chunky, and it's going to give a really lovely chunky effect, which I personally like. And for my business, I tend to do chunky accessories, so chunky hats and scarves, and I love the way that they look. I really like the texture. I think that's another thing with this one. The texture looks fabulous. And of course, it's really cozy. This is 100% acrylic. So if you've not used Stylecraft Special before, it is an acrylic yarn. So nice and easy to wash. Dries so quickly, and it is really lovely and soft. Now, if you would prefer to use a different yarn, you can use any yarn really. A cotton would work really well. A lovely soft alpaca or merino, or merino should I say, would be gorgeous as well. You want something nice and soft because of course it's going against the head, isn't it? So it'll be against your ears and they're really sensitive, so something that will keep them nice and cosy. Because hopefully we'll be heading into spring soon, so we won't not necessarily need the heavy hats in the next few weeks if we're lucky. So what would be your favourite item to make? Or who would be the favourite person to make for? I tend to make quite a lot for my grandchildren as well as for customers. And I'd probably say that hats are actually one of the things I really enjoy making. I like the form of a hat and how many different textures you can get, and that by changing the colour that you've used can change the whole look of the hat. And also being able to add sort of a pom-pom, deciding whether it's going to be slouchy or not, all those sorts of things. Clearly a bit of a hat geek. So there we go. So that's our first half double crochet line done. So now when we get to the end we are going to chain one, which won't be a surprise to you, but what we're going to do now is we are going to put the hook through both loops for both the beginning and the last excuse me excuse me, for the both beginning and the last stitch. You're going to put your hook through both loops. After that you're just going to use the back loop. So if you've never done a back loop before, as it would suggest, you're going in from where you've got your two sections of the V, you're just going to go through the middle and place your stitch in the back section. Now when you're doing this with a half double crochet, what that gives you at the front is a really lovely texture, and it almost looks like a double V rather than just the front section, because you've got the third loop of the half double crochet showing as well. So the texture looks to my mind anyway, I think it looks really great. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to carry on crocheting in the back loop only to the end, and I shall catch you at the end of this row. Okay, so I'm coming towards the end. I'm continuing to use the back loops. And then in the last stitch, I am going to go through both. Okay. Now, when you come to sew this up, these ends are going to be sewn into the, these ends are going to be sewn into the twist at the front. So it makes sense to do a double through the hoop, through the loop, so go through both loops rather than just a single loop, because then when you sew it, it does just make it that bit more robust and a little bit easier for you. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to continue that. I'm going to do 4 more rows and I'll come back to you so you can see what that looks like, and I can make a decision then whether it needs any more. So I'm going to do 6 rows because, as I said, we need to have them equal, so I'll either do 6 or 8. We'll see how thick it is, wide it is when I get to the 6. Hello, I'm back again now. So I'm coming up to my the end of my 6th row. Come all fingers and thumbs, now put the video back on. So again, all in the back loop apart from the last one, which will be through both loops. So last one through both loops, and that is my 6. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to cut off. I'm going to leave a decent tail because I'm going to be using that to sew in. So I'll cut that off. Now, so this is where we start to think about how we're going to sew this together. So as I said, you need to have equal amounts. So this is a bit where we're going to start talking about how we put this together. So this is where you've got to have equal amounts of rows in order to be able to sew this into a twisted headband. So I've got 2, 4 and 6. So as long as I've got equal rows, I'll be able to do this. So I am going to just thread my needle first of all. Perfect. Now, what's going to happen is we're going to fold it over so that's equal. So hopefully you can see that that is folded over to an equal section. This is also, so this end will also be folded equal. And what will happen is you will interlock the two. So this section here will go around as so, and this will go around as so. So you've got 2 C's, if you will, interlocking towards each other to enable you to then sew in your ends. So we're going to sew this together first of all. Now remember, each of these end stitches have gone through both loops, so will give us a little bit more robustness. If you are unsure of where to put this, you can always go down a little bit further if you wish to, but that might affect the sizing when you go to put it back on. So we are literally going to go backwards and forwards, and making sure we're catching all of the sections within that. At the end, I'm going to turn it around and bring it back through, and then I'm going to go all the way back down again. Okay, so hopefully you can see that this actually, other than working out how to do the joining together and making sure it's equal, this actually is a really simple headband to make, and certainly for the effect of the headband it does look really good. So there we go. So what you'll do then is you will fasten off. So I'm just going to show you what this looks like before I finish off completely. Okay, So when you turn it, so you turn it round the other way, and when you turn it round, what you'll then find is you have this knotted effect. Now you can see how effective that is. It looks brilliant on. If I'm feeling brave enough, I might even try it on for you. But it looks brilliant on. It's very comfortable. It's very warm. Because I've used in this instance a decent hook size, so a size 10. This is probably that little bit loose, so it will have a little bit more give. You can of course use a small hook size, but just be aware of that. And if we put this next to the double knit, so this is this is made out of a double knit, and this is made out of the chunky. So you can see that it's the effect is still really good. The twist effect is still really good. Personally, I really like the chunkiness, but again, that's my bag, isn't it? So I would do. If you prefer it to look a bit lighter and prefer more ridges within the actual body of your headband, then you may choose to go for a thinner yarn. So you could choose to go for a thinner yarn. You could go even lighter than a double knit, so you could go for a 4-ply, for example. You might want to just do it in an Aran weight in one thread of yarn. You might choose to do it in a super chunky, maybe like, you know, like the Bernat Blanket ones, the chenille style, the velvet feel ones. It would be amazing in that and feel so good next to the skin as well. Now, I hope that tutorial's been really helpful. I will finish it off and take I'll take a photo with it on, so you can see what that looks like on. I'm certainly not a model, and I assume that most of us aren't, but it will be nice to see it actually on, wouldn't it? Hopefully you can now see that it's very difficult to tell which is the beginning, I'll just move that out of the way, which is the beginning chain, because they actually both look very similar. So it gives you this really nice, neat edged finish. Okay.